Hey everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing the Firefly Q6 Mini Action Cam. This is really cool. I've been excited about this since I was told I was going to get a chance to review it. This is a lot like, as you can see by the size and the look, as a Mobius or a Runcam, but this one does have an LCD screen on it, and it is low cost. It is, I think, between $50 and $60, so this is really cool. It has the same internal parts pretty much as the Firefly full-size action cams, the 6S and 7S. It just doesn't obviously have a preview screen like it. This is made to compete with the Mobius and the Runcams. But look here, here's a Firefly 7S that I have, so you can see comparisons. It's a completely different form factor. And of course, this has a screen on the back. Now, just a really neat camera. It's got a USB hookup on it. It's got a HDMI, and then it's just about for your SD card, your MicroSD up to 32 gigabytes. It uses, like I said, the internals. It uses a Novatech chipset and the Sony IMX078 12 megapixel sensor, so it can shoot all the way up to 4K, though the 4K is interpolated or upscaled, so it's not true 4K at 24 frames per second. But it is true up to the 2.5K. So it does 2.5, and then another version is 1440, which is slightly different than the 2.5, but 2.5 is still by 1440. And then it does 1080p at 60 frames per second, like the Firefly 7S, and at 30 frames per second, and then you can go down to 720 at I think it's 120 frames per second. Yeah, 120 frames per second. So it has really good video quality and it has really nice photos, but especially video. Really, the only difference I can see between this and the full-size Firefly, besides the lack of an LCD screen for the preview, is the microphone. This is a little bit lower. It's not as good of quality a microphone. But this is made to stick on a small, the bottom of a small drone, on top of an RC car. And that's what I'm going to use it on. I'm going to put it on top of a tank. It's going to be really cool for that kind of stuff. It'll obviously be pretty bouncy on top of an RC car, but it'll work. Just a good an option, a low-cost option. Let's fire up my scale here and compare the weight on it, because the instruction says it's 41 grams. Let me switch my units over to grams, and I'll plop it on my scale. And this says 46 grams on my scale. So my scale is not the, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that into the, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it into the video, but it says, take my word for it, it says 46. The Firefly 7S is 62. So, you know, roughly looking at about, 16 grams different in weight. So you have a little bit of weight help, especially on a smaller drone. So let's go ahead and we'll turn it on. You have the power button here on the bottom, and these lights, these LEDs will light up red. On the top is to change your select your options, and your right and left arrows here. Hopefully that shows up. They're not recessed too much, and they're not colored to be able to show up very easily. So let's go ahead and we'll power it up. And it has the same sound and everything like the Firefly 7S. And now you can see the screen. I'm at 1080p at 60 frames per second. It's got the date, and it's got the amount of battery. And it's got that timer, which I forget in the past that that's something to do. I'm not sure on that. I was confused by it on my 7S review too. I don't know if it's the amount of time left or not. I got a 32 gigabyte SD card. As you can see here, you got the light here is lit up, the red LEDs in the back. I don't know if that's showing up or not, but they are lit up. Let's go ahead and we'll go through the menu here real quick. I'm just going to click the arrows. You can see now we're into the settings. It says it's got size. That's for changing actually your resolutions all the way up to 4K down to 720. That's a software version. There's something about resetting it to the default settings. Format your card, your on-screen display settings, the brightness, I think that is, and sound on and off, how long until it goes on standby, setting your time. This is for showing voltage using the using the external USB FPV flight video cord. I'll show you that in just a moment, those accessories. This is for the wide or medium angle of the lens. It has 170 angle lens on it, I believe. So your field of view is basically what this is. I have it set to the widest. If you want to reduce that some to make it a little less curved or fisheye, you can make it smaller field of view. It's got a power off by USB if it's plugged in. It's got a gyro stabilization, which I have that turned off because I didn't work very well on the 7S. I doubt it works very well on this one either. It's got fisheye removal, which I do use on the 7S, but never been able to tell much of a difference. But you might as well turn it on. I've not seen any degradation of the video quality using it. So I do have that turned on, especially since I'm using the widest angle to help remove some of that curvature, because I'm not a big fan of the fisheye look. There's another setting here that is, I think that's, let's see, I'll press this and go in. It has, oh, that's your 50 or 60 hertz, depending on whether you're in the US or not. That's not a big deal. Going up to TV mode, I think that's going to be for your USB FPV out for FPV. There's your date stamping if you want a date stamped onto the video. But it's like the 7S, it puts a pretty cool Firefly logo and then the date, because I always keep that off for my reviews. Your data rate, low or high, I have it set to high. I would recommend setting that to high unless you absolutely need small videos, because the higher data rate is going to be a higher megabit per second. You're going to get much better video quality. This one here is, I think that is the time, it could be the burst, I think it's your burst mode settings, yeah. Because it also has a time lapse. Metering is like centered spot for your different metering settings. I just have it set to average. There's your contrast, your exposure, which doesn't have a 0.5, -0.5 or +0.5. It just has a high, medium, or low. So I've just left it where the factory says a medium. If it's really bright out, you're gonna want to set that to low. If it's really dark, you'll want to set it to high. There's some RGB color settings, sharpness, I think I set to medium. You have your ISO, which is, you want to change that around if you that's another nice thing like the 7S has. Here's the, this one is, let's see, I believe that is also, that's a, your time lapse, I think. The interval settings on it. There's the burst mode. So that's the amount of, I don't know what the other one was. There's so many settings on this. So that's all the way back to the side. So there's a time lapse and there's a burst mode setting. And the other one might be the video time lapse setting. I'm not sure on that. I don't really mess with the time lapse too much on these cameras, so I apologize on that. So that's pretty much all the settings. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. It seems to have it, I forget, let me look here real quick what the battery size is. The instruction manual is so small for this thing, so you need to get in good lighting, or you might even need a magnifying glass to read it. But the instructions are pretty good. It does say the battery size in here. I forgot to write that down. I can look at the spec sheet here. I know it says it. The internal battery is 700 milliamp. It says the battery life's about 50 minutes on it, which sounds about right. So that's what I wanted to make sure we cover that. You can go all the way up to 12 megapixel. I didn't go over the photo settings. That's gonna be real basic too, just 12.8 or 5 megapixel on the photo. Let me fire that back up real quick here. You hit the, you just tap the power button and that switches it. Now we're in photo and you can see it's set to 16 megapixel it says, but it doesn't do 16, it only does 12. So if it's doing 16, it's just upscaling the photos. And there's the settings for it, the size, the version, default, format, OSD. Many of the same settings, just ones that are, apply to the only ones you can select. I mean, it gives you all of them, but the ones you want to only want to do the ones obviously for that apply to the photos. So like I said, it's in photo. I'm going to tap it again, and now I'm back to my video. So it gives you a full range of settings on both, but obviously some of them are just for the video. I'm going to turn it off. And real quick here, I'll show you the accessories. It comes with a USB charging cable. It uses the mini USB. It doesn't use a micro, but that's no biggie. That's what you use for charging it. And here's what it gives you for your FPV out. Since a lot of them use mini, this one, like I said, uses the micro USB. This would plug into the back of it here. And then this would go in, the servo wire would go into your video transmitter, your video TX, for transmitting your video. And I think it does audio too, if yours supports that. And I think you can also even power the camera off of it if that's something that you are able to do. So this little board is what you use. You plug this in and that gives you your FPV. So it comes with that. So it's ready for FPV. If you want to put this on a racer or something like that where you've got a video transmitter set up with it. And it comes with a full set of stickers. This little Hawkeye sticker is pretty cool. One says here, the wise are free from perplexities, the virtuous from anxiety, and the bold from fear. But if you want to stick these on your drone or something, well, kind of cool. So for the price, everything it comes with, the video quality, all really cool. I'm going to now take it out and we're going to have some video examples at 1080p at 60 frames per second, so it matches the video that I'm recording with now. And then I will try to do like I did in my 7S, where I will link to some 2.5K video samples at 30 frames a second, so you can see another video of what that quality looks like. And I'll do some talking too, so you can see the microphone. The microphone is clear. It just sounds like it was a little bit low. For most people, the audio is not going to be too important on this camera, because this is not your traditional action camera. This is made more for sticking on RC products. So I think that pretty much covers it all for that. So let's move along now to some of the video samples. Okay, here's some sample footage of the Firefly Q6. This is at 1080p at 60 frames per second. Wide dynamic range is turned off because it's a sunny day, so you don't prevent, so that prevents overexposure. And the gyro stabilization is turned off. We will do one more test with the gyro stabilization turned on, just to see if it works any better on this Q6 than it does on my 7S, which tends to be a little kind of wavy as it tries to correct in the software for the vibrations and movement. The microphone is clear as far as I can tell. It's just not quite as robust or as sensitive, I guess you could say. It just tends to not be as loud as my 7S. So I'm not going to boost the audio in post-production here, so you're hearing it as it is recorded without any audio boost. Zoom, get closer here on the bushes here. Some of the things that have colors, things are starting to bud out here. I'll go up here and kind of look up at the sky, and we'll see how it handles the clouds and the sun. How well the sensor handles that intense sun. The exposure is set to medium, so that should be decent. I don't know if that's 0, it probably is. Taking it down to low, I think would underexpose. Even on a 7S, just going down to the first negative setting on a sunny day sometimes still tends to look a little bit too dark. Alright, so I'll be right back now with the second test. Okay, this is the second test now. The same exact settings, except I've turned the gyro stabilization on. So I may move the camera around a little bit more here, just so that it kind of wobbling it now to see how that works, rather than trying to hold it as steady as possible. So I'm just going to kind of walk in a similar path as before. So there shouldn't be too much difference except for that gyro stabilization. So this is still with exposure set to medium. 1080p at 60 frames per second, so it's going to handle fast movement good. Perfect for a drone, or especially a racer or an RC car. Brushless or nitride RC car, it really moves fast. It's going to need that fast frames per second. You can bump this up to 720 at 120 frames per second if you want really fast for slow motion. It also has a slow motion setting in it. You can set to it to do it automatically for you, so you don't have to do it in post-production. So, all right, well, I think that's good enough a test of that. So, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more videos.